Your task will not be an easy one. Your enemy is well-trained, well-equipped, and battle-hardened.
There is not a liberal America and a conservative America. There is the United States of America.
Good night and good luck.
Hey, folks, it's Friday, August the 2nd. There are 95 days until the election, and this is the elephant in the room. Today, I want to talk about two things that have been striking me very, very meaningfully this week. And the first part, I want to just go through Trump's unbelievable, disastrous, shitty, horrible, disgusting performance at the National Association of Black Journalists Conference. I want to lead off by saying something very clearly to folks that are, especially folks in the media who are taking the Trump bait on this. This was not deliberate. This is not 87-dimensional quantum chess where Trump is doing some sort of secretive strategy to make everybody distracted. This is a creaky, cranky, weird, old racist. This is not mastermind devises furiously a concocted political plot. This is old man yells at clouds. This is time for your medication, Grampy. This is not a guy who's healthy or together. This moment he walked in there and started insulting Kamala Harris based on her race, and started insulting the interviewers on the stage, and started engaging in all the petty, petulant, Trumpish behavior that you always know he's going to do in the end.
Why should black voters trust you after you have used language like that?
Well, first of all, I don't think I've ever been asked a question in such a horrible manner. First question. You don't even say, hello, how are you? Are you with ABC? Because I think they're a fake news network, a terrible network. And I think it's disgraceful. First of all, it's very hard to hear you for whatever reason because of the fact that they have bad equipment, because I guess, this woman was unable to get the right equipment. But it's very hard for me to hear you, but I can hear every other word.
Sir,
I have
if you don't mind, I'd love
judge.
we have you for a limited time, sir. I'd love to move on to different topics.
Excuse you, you're the one that held me up for 35 minutes, just so you understand. I cannot understand. Your microphone
I know,
is so
it is really hard for me to understand
it's just,
you too.
I can understand you perfectly.
Because she's closer.
I can understand you.
Happy to hear that, sir.
But I can't
really
understand, Harris. If I came onto a stage like this and I got treated so rudely as this woman treated me.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm fine with it because she was very rude, sir. Very rude. That wasn't a question. She didn't ask me a question. She gave a statement. That wasn't a question.
I repeated your statement, sir, actually. I think we have to leave it there by the Trump team.
All right.
So leave it. That is the last word. Thank you so much, Mr. Trump, for coming today and joining us.
I think it really speaks to where we are in the race and as a country. This is a guy who absolutely is unqualified to be president of the United States. We all know it. Even a lot of his supporters know it. A lot of them know it. And that moment on that stage was one example of this. He is like one of those like 1970s dolls that you pull the string and it says 4 or 5 different things on a little tape loop inside. Well, let's have tea, Susie, or whatever it is, right? And he's only got a half a dozen or a dozen lines or tropes that he can bring out at any given moment. So you're the fake news. You're awful. You're a mean person. All those little like petty personal attack vectors that he loves to bring up. Those things represent a flavor of American politics that doesn't work anymore. This guy has a worn out Borscht Belt sort of comic shtick, and it's done. It's tired. And I noticed something about even the coverage of this, and some of it was, both sides says, I'm fine, it's going to happen. But a lot of the coverage was not Trump deviously changed this subject. It was Trump launches crude racial attack on a biracial president.
Some of your own supporters, including Republicans on Capitol Hill, have labeled Vice President Kamala Harris, who is the first Black and Asian American woman to serve as vice president and be on a major party ticket, as a DEI hire. Is that acceptable language to you? And will you tell those Republicans and those supporters to stop it?
How do you define DEI? Go ahead. How do you define
diversity, equity, inclusion.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Is that what your definition?
That is
give me a
literally
definition
the
then.
words
Would you give me a definition
DEI.
of that? Give me a definition of
Sir,
that.
I'm asking you a question,
No,
a
you
very
have to
direct
define
question.
it. Define it for me, if you would.
I just defined it, sir. Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is only on the ticket because she is a black woman?
Well, I can say no. I think it's maybe a little bit different. So I've known her a long time indirectly, not directly very much. And she was always of Indian heritage, and she was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black. So I don't know, is she Indian or is she black?
She has always identified as a black woman. She went to a historically black college.
I respect either one, but she obviously doesn't, because she was Indian all the way, and then all of a sudden she made a turn, and she became a black person.
Just to be clear, sir, do you believe that
I think
she is
somebody should look into that too when you continue in a very hostile, nasty tone.
It's a direct question, sir. Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is a DEI hire, as some Republicans
I really don't
have
know.
said?
I mean, I really don't know. Could be.
Since Kamala Harris loves Venn diagrams, and who of us does not, that overlap, she can be both Indian American and black. She can have both of those things in her. Donald Trump has both criminal and rapist in his Venn diagram. Donald Trump has both failure in one half of his Venn diagram and corrupt in the other half of the Venn diagram. I could do that all day long. But he doesn't understand that people are able in America in the year of our Lord 2024 to be from more than one racial or ethnic or demographic origin. It's quite remarkable how he doesn't get that. And the disconnect of this old-fashioned shtick of his, this old-fashioned, it was campy for a while, and now it's just absurd and ineffective. The every moment he walks out there on stage, he's driving a bigger and bigger wedge between women, Gen X, Gen Z voters who look at it now and go, "What the hell is that? Enough with this. This is absurd." So you're going to see this amplify in the campaign for two big reasons. The first off, and this is a big elephant in the room, folks, pay attention to this. There's a reason that the Trump campaign right now is leaking like a sieve, okay? Some of it's deliberate. Susie Wiles is leaking that Kellyanne Conway is trying to kill off J.D. Vance. Chris LaCivita is leaking that he's trying to kill off Project 2025. Jason Miller is leaking, but that's something else, and he probably needs a really strong antibiotic to fix it. All of these things that are going on in the Trump world right now, bad campaigns leak. Good campaigns leak on purpose. Bad campaigns just leak. They are, everybody around them is like, oh my God, we're in a panic. What the fuck do we do? And I'll tell you, it is creeping into the Republican elected class. And I never thought I'd see it. But you had Steve Daines and Mitch McConnell and even people like Josh Hawley out there saying, oh, we need to get away from these racial things and get on to policy. I'm sorry. Have you met Donald Trump? Have you met Donald Trump? Get on to policy. Get the hell out of here. These guys are desperate now because they smelled something in the wind that they haven't smelled in a long time. And it's decay. It's death. It's loss. There's always been this belief. There's always been this mental frame in America since 2015 that Trump can't be defeated. His audience is too strong. He's too powerful. Fox loves him so much. He'll never be, taken off track. He's always got a trick up his sleeve. Guys, it was always an illusion. Okay. It was always bullshit. It was always fake. It was people let themselves believe that. People let themselves believe that no one could stand against him. People let themselves believe that he was all powerful, that he had some keen insight in politics that was above and beyond our mortal ken. He never did. People just let themselves get played. They sold themselves cheap. And for those of us who didn't, welcome to the party. Come on over, guys. The water's fine. We have cookies. It's all good. But that whole example that catalyzed and crystallized at the National Association of Black Journalists just showed you this guy is not strong. He's weak. Trump is weak. He is a weak man. And he's always been weak. Regardless of what this weird macho projection onto Trump from the MAGA base has been, let's be honest. This is a guy who wears a lot of makeup, This is a guy who spends hours a day on his hair. This is a guy who wears lifts in his shoes. This is a guy who is vain in every possible way. I can't quite quote it right now from memory, but Windsor Man had something about him one time. He wears makeup. He loves gossip. He loves reality TV. He loves daytime television. This guy has never been the strong man that people projected onto him. He would like to be, but he's not. You know how I know he's not? Because the least strong men that I've ever encountered in my life are the most abusive to women. The weakest men I've ever encountered in my life are the most abusive to the women in their lives. And Donald Trump is a categorical abuser. He's got its own special box of horrific behavior. And we're going to talk more about that as this campaign rolls through. And we're going to see more of it because he can't stop himself. He cannot help himself. He loves to hate women. And I've said it before, Kamala Harris is his kryptonite. She's black. She's smart. She's a woman. She's a prosecutor. Number 5, and most of all, she laughs in his face. This week, and I can tell you, I'm an anthropologist than Donald Trump, and I hate being that. I want to get him out of my brain someday. When she stood on that stage in Atlanta, looking absolutely presidential, looking absolutely perfect, and folks, I'm not being sexist. The visual affect of the candidate matters a lot, and her suit, her posture, her expression, her hair, her makeup, the entire presentation looked presidential. That's a woman you could see being president. That's the idealized thing that an Aaron Sorkin script would show as a woman president. She looks the part. It fits in the cultural framework of people's minds. But when he saw her stand on that stage and say the words, "Say it to my face," Donald Trump knew something. And Donald, if you're listening, and I know your people are, the moment she said those words, it was like a spell broke.
I do hope you'll reconsider to meet me on the debate stage. Because as the saying goes, if you've got something to say, say it to my face.
Donald Trump knows he can go on stage with her, but it's going to be the biggest risk of his life because he'll be the old man. He'll be the one telling crazy stories. He'll be the one all over the board. He'll be the one without control of his mental processes. He'll be the one who has a team of people who tell him every day, "Donald, you're the tallest, smartest, handsomest man to ever be president, and you will be a golden god on that stage." And he knows, I think he senses that she's become, in a way, more powerful in the fame axis than he has. She has become more powerful in the charisma axis than he has. She has drawn people to her for love, not hate. And that's always been Trump's secret. He gave people permission to be their worst, most hateful iterations of themselves. And that's not the way Harris is going to win this campaign. It's not the way she's become the front runner in this campaign. And it's not something Donald Trump can overcome easily. Now, the second thing I want to talk to you about is serious and not serious. Because look, the highest compliment in my world has always been, "Oh yeah, he's a serious guy. She's a serious woman. That's a serious person." Okay? I like serious people. I like people who understand the challenges we face, the things we have to do, the work that has to be accomplished. And the story of the hostage release last night tells me two things again. The first off is the difference between serious people and unserious people. Serious people engage in months and months and months and months of quiet, subtle, multilateral diplomacy with multiple allies working out a complex deal to release an American journalist, a former U.S. Marine, and other folks who had been held illegally in a kidnap and ransom scheme by Vladimir Putin. Joe Biden and his administration, including Vice President Harris, who was deeply involved, they went out and without fanfare, without leaking it, without making a show about it, without making it about anybody's ego. They went out and negotiated an incredibly complex deal.
We're in the bus. We're heading to the airport. As they get on the plane, we're going to call them. You're going to hear them all. Hey, everybody, can you hear me? It's Joe Biden.
Hi, Mr. President.
I tell you what, I'm not as good as your families are feeling. They're all standing around the Oval Office desk here. And we just wanted to say how overwhelmed we are. You've been wrongfully detained for a long time, and we're glad you're home.
I miss you so much.
Здесь мама, это мама теперь. Ты меня слышишь? Это мама.
Salam, I'm so happy. We'll see you very soon. Oh.
We're in the Oval Office.
Yeah. Gosh, I love you. See you soon.
Bye. Love you so much.
Bye. See you soon.
Paul Whelan here.
I got somebody who's lived in the Oval Office. She's back. She knows the office better than I do. Go ahead, say hello, sis.
Paul, it's incredible, absolutely incredible, this moment. And I just want you to know the whole family is standing by.
Алло.
Алло, пап.
Да, Катюшечка, это ты?
Да, пап, привет.
Привет, маленький.
Привет, хорошо тебя слышать.
Вы там где?
We're in the Oval Office.
No word is strong enough for this. I was sure I'm going to die in prison. I don't believe what's happening. I still think I'm sleeping in my prison cell in Omsk instead of hearing your voice. But I just want you to know that you've done a wonderful thing by saving so many people. I think there were 16 of us on the plane. Again, I still can't believe it's happening. So I just want you to say that I don't think there are many things more important than saving human lives.
We're going to see you at Andrews. Don't pretend you don't know us, okay?
Okay.
Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. President.
I can hardly wait to see you.
Yeah, thanks for bringing us home.
Thank
I
you.
tell you what.
See you soon.
There's no greater job I have than protecting Americans and bringing Americans who are wrongfully held home. I really mean it.
Incredibly complex. Evan Gershkovich was the prize, the jewel in the crown of the Russian hostage situation. Okay. He was symbolically important to America, to the American media, because he is a working journalist being kidnapped and accused of espionage for no reason. We all knew it. This is a guy who was not there for the CIA or any other part of the American intelligence world. He was a rank and file line reporter, a foreign correspondent. And Russia broke one of the fundamental rules that we've always had underneath the Cold War and post-Cold War situation, is that working journalists, you leave them be. Now, a lot of their journalists are not journalists, but we'll leave that on the table for now. But it took work, it took discipline, it took focus, it took a respect for alliances and a respect inside of the NATO-US alliance to make this happen. This took serious people, serious work, thoughtful, considered, diplomatic work, as opposed to the way Donald Trump behaved and behaves toward NATO and Russia. For Donald Trump, Putin is his good friend. And he was promising back in May on Twitter, Evan Gershkovich will not be released for anybody else but me. Only Putin will only release him for me. Well, that was, of course, Donald, one more of your 30,900 and whatever lies you've told in public life since 2015. But the moment on that runway last night where the president, who, by the way, one other thing about that, he finalized the deal just hours before he announced he would not continue to seek the nomination. That's a serious person. That's a good person. That's a man who cares about his country and cares about the people in his country. You cannot imagine the stress of that. He has their lives in his hands. The Russians, we were trying to get Navalny out too. The Russians had already murdered Navalny. And it was only a matter of time before they raised the stakes and killed one of the Americans. Count on it. That's how they work. But he is negotiating the final details of this release at the same moment at the same exact time, sitting on the same phone call. His ass had not left the chair between negotiating the end of this deal, finalizing the final details, and taking the step of announcing that he was not going to run for president. It is remarkable, okay? It is a remarkable sign of someone who gives a damn about this country and gives a damn about the American people he represents. And you could see it, the pride and the excitement in his face last night at Andrews, and the emotion of the families, and Vice President Harris by his side, greeting these same hostages, elegant black suit, again, looking the part, having a justified moment of pride, a moment in the sun for something she was a part of doing. Serious people can accomplish serious things. Frivolous people cannot. And it tells you a lot that Donald Trump and his people are out bitching and moaning about this deal. Oh, yeah, well, Trump would have done it easily. It's all Putin did it because they think Trump is coming back. None of that is true. They can be a self-licking ice cream cone all they want on that, but none of that is true. It's all bullshit. It's all trying to preserve Trump's ego. It's all a lie. And so their reaction to it tells you a lot about who they are. They're fundamentally unpatriotic. That was a moment last night where every American, left, right, and center, Republican, Independent, Democrat, should have been looking at those people coming off that plane with an emotion of pure joy. Hard work, smart diplomacy, and determination got them back from Putin's clutches. Okay? Those Americans are our fellow citizens. You may not like them if you're a Republican because Evan's a journalist, but they're our fellow citizens. They're Americans. Joe Biden put them first. Joe Biden did something that was honorable and smart, and it proves to you that this guy is going to go down as one of our great presidents. He may be a one-termer, like my old boss, George H.W., okay? He may be a one-termer, but he will be remembered as a president who was effective, determined, smart, who understood what he was doing, who gave a damn about Americans. And you can never put yourself in that with Donald Trump. He doesn't like this country. He talks down to it all the time. He calls us a shithole, a terrible country. He calls Americans stupid all the time. We never make good deals. The insults to this country, to our values, to our patriotism, to our fellow Americans that come from Trump and his movement, they're an elephant in the room you should think about a lot. If you're undecided for any reason in this election, think about the kind of president you want. Do you want a blowhard who treats NATO and our alliances like it's a protection racket? You want a guy who would put Putin first? You want a guy who, as we found out today, was soliciting $10 million bribes from Egypt? Or do you want a president who, like Joe Biden and like Vice President Harris, who was willing to look at the American lives on the line, the American lives at stake, get to work quietly, subtly, carefully, multilaterally, diplomatically, intelligently? You cannot imagine a world where Donald Trump could have pulled this deal off. It doesn't exist. And that, my friends, is the difference between serious and unserious people. And that in this election is one of the biggest elephants in the room.
Good night and good luck.